Friday, February 10th, 2017. Ask ServiceMonster 001, our very first episode. Today is Friday, February 17th, 2017. Ask ServiceMonster 002. In this episode, how not to stumble into Facebook group looking for leads, a marketing campaign grab for DIY clients, and ServiceMonster 6 is officially for sale.
So I get this a lot. I mean a lot. The most common question I get is, Joe, I am stuck. I'm making 200 grand, 400 grand, 700 grand, whatever cap they seem to have hit, and they cannot seem to grow.
This week's question comes from Kevin, and it's simple, but I really had to think about it for a while before formulating an overall opinion. And it is, how do you tell the difference between a good opportunity and a bad opportunity? Today's question is from everybody. It has to do with social media. But first, let me try to explain something to you guys about the ask. If you want a question, send it to ask@servicemonster.net. We'll be more than happy to answer them. But 90% of the questions we get are about ServiceMonster. Today, our ongoing Facebook monetization number 3. For all of you guys who think we're a little too heady, that we do too much theoretical, today is your day. We're gonna go to the mat and be super practical by showing you directly how to use Facebook Ad Manager. Today, our ongoing discussion on Facebook monetization, how to build an audience and use Ad Manager in the most effective way possible. I've been going through this exercise quite a bit over the last couple weeks. It's where my head's been at. It's partly why I'm doing this series, because my information is fresh in my mind as I learn it. And over the last week, my marketing team and I have been kind of focused on audiences. All right, so Scott sent me a message about 3 or 4 days ago. It basically goes like this. Hey Joe, my business is struggling and I'm wondering if you can help me with that. And oh, by the way, I have got my eye on this car I've been wanting to buy for a long time. I've been in business for 3 years and I keep promising myself that I'm gonna buy this car and I just really want it and I haven't done that yet. Can you help me with my struggling business? This kind of got under my skin a little bit, and I asked him a couple questions, and I tried to set him straight with being nice. But today we're gonna talk about employees. I got a question from April, and she was like, yo, Joe, with the busy season starting up, I'm afraid that I'm actually gonna have to start hiring a few people to help me out. And she's a little gun shy because she's had the experience before, and she finds it hard to find capable people, finding it hard to find people who wanna work, whether it's in the office or on the truck. Finding it hard to find people who will stay for more than a week. I know you guys go through a lot of that. I go through that too. So I thought I'd kind of touch on that topic today and talk about employees in general. How do you find them? How do you keep them? How do you inspire them? And how do you grow a team to help you build this business that you're trying to build? Today's question comes from Jared. Jared wants to know if it would be wise for him to go back to school to get his degree in business. He says he's been following us and some other people on social media and starting to understand how important education is, starting to understand how important picking up new data and seeking out information outside of your own purview, and I totally agree with that. But he wants to know if it would be worth it to go to school and maybe do part-time cleaning while he goes to school and earns himself a degree. Would he be smarter? Would his business be that much better? Today's question comes from Keith. Going from tech to exec, how exactly do you get yourself off the truck? So Keith wants to know, how does he get off the truck? He's been running now for, I think he said 18 months or so. He's doing well, feels he's just starting to get a nice customer base, and now he's ready to make the transition. How do you move yourself from a worker, self-employed, to an actual business person? Today, our question comes from Paul. He wants to talk about wraps. Had a few questions, kind of inspired me to do a rant about wraps and signage in general. I know it's something that a handful of you guys have been toying with, and it's been a popular subject as of late on the boards. Today's question comes from Chris. He's a fairly new service business, and he's finding it hard to gather leads. So he sent me a message asking me what I thought about Home Advisor. Today's question comes from Tomble, asked on YouTube. He liked what we did regarding lead generation companies and asked, Joe, I get it, I love it, I totally understand, But how do I build and control my brand? So we're gonna give you the top 13 things that you need to do in order to build your brand in your community for your service company. Today, question comes from Lori. She's got a fairly successful rug and air duct and carpet cleaning business. She's got some restoration going on too, and she wants to build that up. She asks, when is the most appropriate time to hire a sales rep? Or should you even hire a sales rep at all? The real answer here is day one. Hire a sales rep on day one. That's unrealistic, of course, if you're a small service business just starting off as a mom and pop or single owner operator. But here's the dirty little secret, boys and girls. You are sales reps. Today's question comes from Dan. He's heard me mention certification a few times, and he says, hey, is that technical training and certification really worth it? Does it equal jobs, or is it just a handful of industry do-gooders trying to reach into my pocket?
Today, our question comes from Matt. And Matt, I'm sorry it took so long to get back to you, but I wanted to wait until we had the man who could really answer your question. His question was about franchises. Should I think about a franchise? What are the benefits? What are the pitfalls? What can I expect? What can I gain? What can I lose? All about franchises, right?
Today's question comes from Mike. Really simple. What is CRM? So Mike sent me a question asking me what CRM was. He wasn't sure what we did, and it confused him. He hadn't heard the term before. So I thought I'd break it down, why you would need one, what it is, what does it look like, why would you need one over QuickBooks, and of course, without this trying to sound like an infomercial, I'm not going to be talking about in terms of ServiceMonster. And today's question comes from Glenn. He wants me to do a little SEO deep dive. Search engine optimization. What is it? What do you need to know about it? What can you leverage? What can you do on your own? And what can you expect to pay?
This week's question comes from Mitchell. And actually, I've been hearing about it a lot lately. Scale. How do you scale your business? We've talked about getting off the truck, but that's just the first hurdle. How do you then grow and hit that $1 million mark, that $1.5 million mark? Very few service companies are able to pull it off. And today I have Mr. Hampton here from Steam Pro, who's one of the largest companies we have in our database. You hear me talk about Jay up there at Northwest, but this guy gives him a definite run for his money.
Today we talk about reviews, how to get them, how to deal with bad ones, and what review platform should you be focusing on. And as you can see, we are in the new corner of the new space where I put all the creative and engineering team. It's been a while. Eric got the shelves up last week. It hasn't been a huge priority in the company, obviously, but we're happy that we've landed here now, and Justin and I are going to kind of be playing with set features and how this whole thing looks. So bear with us during construction. Today's question comes from Blake. He writes that he's been dealing with a problem client. It's keeping him up late at night. He feels just really bad about the whole experience. He wants to know, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with this situation? So we're gonna break that down today. Dealing with problem clients, firing clients, maybe before the job even begins, and what to do with people who are just plain nasty.
Today's question comes from Robert. He saw our video last week on what are you worth, talking about what the business's services are worth to the client. But also, what's a business worth in general? If you wanted to exit or sell your business, how do you calculate your value?
Today's question comes from Elliot. He's a small residential cleaner, wants to grow, and he's starting to wonder, given the slow season, if chasing after commercial accounts might not be a good idea. Today's question comes from Robbie. I know a lot of you guys are thinking about the same thing because I'm seeing it on bulletin boards and forums all over the place. What's up with a new tax law? But before we dive too deep into that, we're going to talk about formation, company formations. What's all this sole proprietorship, LLC, and C Corp stuff really mean?
Today's question comes from Carl. He wants to know, Joe, what is the best, most effective client retention strategy? And I'm going to share that with you, but I'm going to do you one better. What is the overall end-to-end best communication strategy that your service business can implement? I believe I'm about to give you the best value that we've extracted ever out of an ask, so pay attention.